Welcome to Downers Grove. This is the ACC stop of Tour of America's Dairylands. I am once again on the front row, which is exciting. It rained this day. The women had a much rainier race than we did. Luckily, starting out here, it was not actively raining. So that was cool. The roads are still super slick. You can see them shining, but not too crazy. I was pretty hesitant in the beginning. You can see this backstretch has a lot more water collected on the cement style instead of the asphalt style. So definitely cautious about that, and cautious about the manhole covers and cracks and classic Wisconsin pavement all around the course. See the Mito Q guys jumping up ahead in this first corner here. This corner, second corner, this corner is super tight. It's a Dorito shaped course. As you can see, we yet again have the full rain train of the fast boys on that team. Danny Summerhill in the points jersey. You just saw him back there. He is definitely going to be gunning for those points. We've got Marcos Mendez. We've got Claver Martinez over there. See Noah Granigan right in front of me. Kind of an interesting course. Didn't quite know how it was going to break down. It felt super fast, like it was not going to be a breakaway, but we will see how it actually ends up. I moved back a little bit farther. My legs, day 10 into Tour of America's Dairylands, are a little tired, so gotta wait for them to come around a little bit. I just kind of sat in the car before this race, and actually did one of these voiceovers in the car waiting for the race to start, and just not riding around in the rain too much. So legs need to warm up more than normal, and more than if I had gotten a warm-up for the race. That's a full lap of the course. Dorito shaped, pretty cool. Last two corners, a little slick, but pretty wide open. Okay, through the start finish here, about 10 minutes into the race, and I'm gonna follow Garrison. Just happened to be on his wheel at the right time. And there's a small break up the road. Garrison sends this first corner pretty well. I did not think we were going to be able to go through it that fast, so I let off the wheel, but he clearly could make it through that corner that fast. So Garrison showing me the lines that we can take through that, and then he rolls over this Hot Tubes guy and one of the Nashville local dudes there. Now that they all have the same helmet, I can't tell the difference between all of them, but they've got Gabe. They've got Kyle Teasler, who's been flying this year, and Ralph Rufo. That was either Kyle or Gabe, I think. Might have been one of their other dudes. They all have similar statures. But here I am on Michael Garrison's wheel. We look back, and the field's pretty much on us yet again. A lot of solo dudes were kind of chasing, I don't know, maybe defending their spot in the overall. But through this race, we hypothetically had a little parking lot deal with Project Echelon. You can see me following Alfredo's wheel at the perfect time here. Project Echelon dudes, they've got some good sprinters, and Clayton and I are just going for the overall. Clayton in the points leaders jersey in this race. So we kind of wanted everything to come together to a sprint at the end, and Clayton's usually been getting like top fives in that. So that would maintain his points for the race. So we're tracking things down, trying not to let any threatening GC moves go up the road, and then maybe lining up a sprint, maybe letting Cade into our little lead out at the end there. Been learning that last race that we can get next to Rainstorm. Just got right up next to their train, and got Clayton in a good position out of the swarm as much as possible. But here we are a little bit later, 46 minutes in. Fergus Arthur following, it looks like Claver Martinez up there into a little attack. There were these little attacks, but it seemed to just come back. There wasn't any substantial win, but it was pretty hard to stay away on this course. Being an ACC race, being Downers Grove, pretty legendary race, you would burn up pretty easily if you're out there alone or out there even with just a few people. See Cade Bickmore on the front there for Project Echelon. Everybody's just kind of watching his wheel. This is the Lions points sprint, I believe. We're coming into the last two corners. It might not be the Lions point sprint yet. It is the Lions point sprint. So I decided The points added up. I was in like second or third place in the Lions points, so I decided to go for it and attack into these last two corners. Right here, I actually lost the rear wheel a little bit, but kept on the pressure into the final. I thought this was a pretty good idea. I got a pretty big gap, and then I sent that corner faster than I had seen other people send it during the race. But sadly, Tom Chester and Kleber Martinez have a little bit faster boy legs than me. I think Tom closed the gap to me in the end there, and then they both swang around for first and second in that Lowland Lions points sprint, not Rainstorm points, if I was saying that. That brings me to the points competitions in this race. There are a lot of points competitions because it's an ACC race. You have Danny Summerhill on the left going for the ACC points. You've got the Toad points, the Toad Rainstorm points. Gets super confusing. And then the Lowland Lions points. All of those come with money, which is pretty cool. And then you also have like the overall for ACC and the overall for Tour of America's Dairyland. So a lot of different in-race competitions in this, aside from just winning the race itself, which makes things a little complicated. And yet at the same time, everybody's just racing their own race, kind of going for the end, but also those points sprints can play a little bit of a role. Something good to attack over a lot of the time, and I'm not quite a sprinter, but I decided to go for that Lions one just to see if anybody was motivated. 15 minutes to go in this race, and there's a little break off the front. Here we have Cade Bickmore, who was theoretically going to jump into our lead-out train and go for the field sprint at the end, pulling something back. He was pretty active during this race, even with two teammates who were going to pull for most of it, and you'll see at the end they actually did a pretty good job. So 10 minutes to go in this race, and things are starting to break up in kind of a weird way. You can see there's a little gap to two off the front, and I believe at this point there was a little gap to like a bigger group off the front too. But stuff would just kind of trickle away. Rainstorm dudes doing their classic sit-up. And then here we have, I think, a pretty sizable group off the front going with 4 laps to go. So there's a move off the front. 4 to 5 guys. People are starting to bridge to it. There's 6 minutes left. And now I kind of decide to take up the front and start to pull this back. Brian Gomez is up there, so I know it's pretty dangerous. So I'm going to pull for about a lap and a half with 6 minutes to go, hoping I can save some energy to help Clayton and maybe Cade in the lead out at the end. So trying to pull this gap back to this 6-man group that's working really hard. And right here into the final few corners, we got really close. I saw that group sit up. Lucas Burgoyne took the last few corners. I don't know, just decided to go for it. And then we're pretty much sitting up here. Like that gap's maintaining, but right now it's the perfect bridgeable gap. People should have bridged across. I believe at this point, around the next few corners, people actually did get across to it. I think it came back just for a brief second. And then we had Brian Gomez and one of the Kiwi guys attack right over the top of that. So now Brian and the Kiwi dude, New Zealand national champ, I believe we're off the front, and we have about a lap and a half to go here. You can see Clayton in the red bibs and the cow jersey, the splotch jersey to the left of me. I'm going to try and get with him, try and get him into a good position for the sprint. I can tell the sprint's going to be a little goofy. There's a lot of swarming on that last straight. So I know I'm going to have to burn a match and really get him up there the best that I can so we can defend that overall position into 1 lap to go. It's swarming yet again. I know that Clayton and Cade are both on my wheel. You can see Noah Granigan there. I get the underneath taken from me by Michael Garrison. Let Clayton go on the outside, jump back onto Clayton's wheel, and now I'm going to bring him up the best I can in this last lap. So I take the inside, start bringing Clayton up on my wheel, kind of trying to get him out of this weird swarm. And you can see Lucas Burgoyne right there on my left, and then the rain train on the outside of the line. So Lucas kind of takes a little sharper angle, and then I've got to accelerate, get Clayton back up and in a little bit. So right now we're paralleling the rain train. There are 2 guys off the front still, keep in mind. So Brian Gomez up there is taking the win currently from the New Zealand national champ, and now into the last 2 corners. My pool is done, and I let those guys just float. In the last 2 corners, apparently Cade took a pretty hot route on the inside. Ended up getting second to Jordan Parra, I think, in the field sprint. And then my teammate, Clayton, unfortunately wasn't able to follow him through the last 2 corners. It's a little hotter route than Clayton was willing to risk. Lucas Burgoyne ended up in a pretty good spot, too, for the overall of Toad. And then Clayton, I think, finished 12th or 13th or something like that. So sadly, we did lose the overall in Toad to Lucas Burgoyne yet again. You can see Parra celebrating, or not Parra, I think that was probably Jaime Castaneja celebrating. And yeah, they took the win. So yet another day for Rainstorm. Finish up one more day in Tour of America's Dairylands. Thanks for watching. See ya.